Very warm good afternoon, good evening, or even good morning, wherever you are in the world. This is Sonava Chaudhary, and you're back on Arun Foot. Sorry, last few days I was not able to do the lives due to work commitments, but today I'm back, and today I have a very special guest. As you can see below me, my very, very good friend Hiren, or better known as Curious Harry. Hiren, first question, of course, as always in these kind of things is, how are you doing?
Hello, sir, and hello to everyone. I am doing really well, and I hope the Indian football fans are also in this time doing well. And आप कैसे हैं?
मैं ठीक हूँ, मैं अच्छा हूँ. As such, everything is fine. And yeah, but a lot of things to talk about, discuss. क्या हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा है इंडियन फुटबॉल में, क्या होना चाहिए इंडियन फुटबॉल में, नहीं होना चाहिए, what should happen, what should not happen, what is true, what is not true, what is actually happening, factually happening, what is not happening. I think that's the biggest thing, because a lot of people are saying a lot of things, and the question is, you know, and yeah, let's talk about things. Hiren, national team camp is on in Kolkata, preparations for the friendly against Thailand, and then, of course, the all important AFC Asian Cup qualifier in Hong Kong. How are you seeing it? How are you seeing our preparation so far? What AIFF media, others are reporting, footage which is available? First impressions here.
I think first of all, it's gonna be really important for the team and for Manolo Marquez in terms of the Asian Cup qualifiers perspective, because this is the match. I think kind of a, I would say, key set a tone for India's qualification. No doubt, other match still there is a four match to play for, but I think this Hong Kong match is gonna definitely, you can say, key after the draw against Bangladesh will decide the how many percentage of chances India have to qualify. I would say if India didn't able to grind a result, even at least a draw, then I think our chances are going to be definitely reduced. And we also need to see the result of Singapore versus Bangladesh. But I think the initial what we are seeing a training session, I think this is the window where team gets some more, you can say, camp for the preparation. And I hope we do well, because last what we played in March, I think that was not the football you want to see from your national team, to be honest. And the Manolo Marquez reaction, I think itself describe everything. So how much how poor we were in that window. So let's hope so. We need to do much better than that if we want to beat even Hong Kong or grind a result of draw. So it's gonna be difficult because it's also away game. And I think this team, I know, I don't know, sir, for past couple of years I think it's completely unpredictable. I mean, you can't just predict how they are gonna play. Simple as that. Sometimes they surprise you with that, you can say 30-40 minutes of good football, and then suddenly what happens in that match. Or sometimes you can say you have an expectation this time team do well, because almost all your, you can say, senior player, your or you can say first choice players are available. For example, in this window, in these matches, all the your senior players now available. Sandesh Singh and Anwar Ali, those two players were in and out for last couple of matches. फिर Sunil Chhetri is there also. Everyone is there. So I think expectation is definitely, as a fan, कि भाई we have to do well. But I think challenges are also tough, and the whole scenario surround national team is also not that positive. So let's see how team is going to tackle. But I think this is a crucial, and I think deciding matches for India's Asian Cup qualifiers.
That is it. I say, Blue saying hi to both of us. Kumar, welcome back. Aditya says Thailand will squash us. Let's see what it is. And we'll talk about the Rahul KP thing a little later. Blue says, saw your tweet, Harry, about you are optimistic about OCIs because I now have trust issues with Indian football as a whole. Blue, I think It's an interesting point because again, I'm also very skeptical on these kind of things at this moment in time, Hiren, because even as I Brahma as well. Thank you for coming. Because I think the point at the end of the day is I think it's not only the AIFF, it's I think a question of what does the government of India do? Now, if the government of India says, okay, OCIs and PAOs can represent us in sports, for example, in tennis, Davis Cup Federation Cup opens up tomorrow. You don't need to give dual citizenship. Tennis allows, if you can prove origin, you can play. There are other sports as well which you can. Olympics you can as well, theoretically. So therefore, for football, there needs to be some work done. So therefore, that's the question that there is. A lot of people are talking about it. But my problem is, did a video a few days ago about it, is like, what can be the roadmap of OCIs representing us? Because the question is, either can you give them quickly passports, even if they don't live in India? How quickly can you do that? Will you give them other assurances as well? We've seen that now with a lot of Asian players from other countries doing that. So let's see what happens on that front. Hiren, Blue speaking that you are optimistic. Share your optimism with us.
नहीं डेफिनेटली सर ऑप्टिमिज्म इसलिए है क्योंकि अब देखिए जैसे एएफएफ का वर्किंग हिस्ट्री भी रहा है तो यू डोंट गेट दैट ट्रस्ट कि भाई ये लोग जो बोलेंगे वो करेंगे ही करेंगे एंड जैसे आपने बोला कि द बिगेस्ट डिसीजन मेकर ये मैंने जब से मतलब पिछले 2-3 साल से जब से मैं कंटेंट बना रहा हूँ जब से ओसीआई प्लेयर का डिस्कशन आता है आई ऑलवेज से वन थिंग कि भाई होल थिंग इज डिपेंड ऑन गवर्नमेंट एएफएफ कितना भी डेस्परेट हो कितना भी काम कर ले प्लेयर कितना भी आना चाहता हो व्हाटएवर दे विल डू at the end of the day decision maker is government and if they didn't do anything nothing is gonna happen simple as that and इस बार थोड़ा सा मे बी ऑप्टिमिज्म या फिर थोड़ा सा आप बोल सकते कि होप इसलिए आया कि भाई वो जो यहाँ पे मीडिया सोर्सेज से न्यूज आई कि भाई स्पोर्ट मिनिस्ट्री में डिस्कशन हुआ है तो थोड़ा सा वो लगा कि नहीं भाई चलो गवर्नमेंट की ओर से इनिशिएटिव हुआ है कि भाई ऐसा कुछ हम प्लान कर रहे हैं बट स्टिल लॉन्ग वे टू गो जैसे आपने बोला कि भाई कौन सा रोड मैप आप डिसाइड कर रहे हो कि हाउ यू आर गोना यू कैन से कि अलाउ ओसीआई प्लेयर बिकॉज बाकी स्पोर्ट्स में तो जैसे आपने बताया कि टेनिस में इट्स इजी कि वहां पे ओसीआई कार्ड चल जाता है बट फॉर फुटबॉल यू हैव टू हैव दैट पासपोर्ट या फिर आपको ओसीआई कार्ड को फॉर अ स्पेशल टाइम पीरियड फॉर अ स्पेशल स्पोर्ट कैटेगरी आपको उसको इक्विवेलेंट करना पड़ेगा एज ए इंडियन पासपोर्ट इस तरह का कुछ ना कुछ आपको रूल चेंज करना पड़ेगा या फिर आपने जैसे बोला नेचुरलाइजेशन प्रोसेस को आप कम करके क्या उनको पासपोर्ट दोगे सो either way you have to do it and uske liye bhi government needs to pass a rule through parliament I think that is the way forward so that requires you can say a lot of work from the government side and as we all know कि as such उस डायरेक्शन में उतना काम होता हुआ अभी तक दिखा नहीं है so I think that's why it's a 50-50 kind of thing for me
so Aditya has a question I think this OCI PAO is just a lollipop nothing else
yeah ये एंगल क्यों आता है लॉलीपॉप वाला क्योंकि सर आप देख रहे हैं कि अभी इंडियन फुटबॉल का जो हालत है ऑन दी फील्ड तो हमको पता ही है कि क्या हालत है फुटबॉल के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बट ऑफ दी फील्ड भी एज वी ऑल नो कि भाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट में मैटर आपका डिसीजन आने वाला है न्यू इलेक्शन आने के चांसेस है आपका एफएसडीएल के साथ डील अभी ऑन होल्ड है आपका आईएसएल का फ्यूचर डिसाइडेड नहीं है आपका एफएसडीएल के साथ अगर डील होता भी है इफ दे डोंट यू कैन से कि एग्री ऑन दी कैश डील देन आपके बाकी टूर्नामेंट अफेक्ट होने वाला है सो लॉट ऑफ थिंग ऑफ इंडियन फुटबॉल एट द मोमेंट एट रिस्क एंड आई थिंक कहीं ना कि उससे मे बी चीजें डाइवर्ट करने के लिए भी ये ओसीआई प्लेयर का कार्ड खेला गया हो ये पॉसिबिलिटीज है इसको आप डिनाई नहीं कर सकते सो आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाई आई एम 50-50 एट द मोमेंट अबाउट दिस ओसीआई थिंग एंड अगर गवर्नमेंट करना भी चाहती है तो आई डोंट थिंक सो आई थिंक आप ज्यादा यहाँ पे इसके ऊपर बता पाएंगे बट आई थिंक नेक्स्ट 1 ईयर और नेक्स्ट 6 मंथ में तो आई डोंट थिंक सो कि इट्स गोना बी अ रियलिटी व्हाट्स योर थॉट सर कि अगर गवर्नमेंट चाहती भी है हाउ मच यू कैन से कि प्रैक्टिकली इट विल टेक टू मेक इट रियलिटी ऑफ सिक्योरिटी चेक्स एंड एवरीथिंग एंड passing through government regulation and then FIFA clearance and everything?
See, the FIFA thing is a clear-cut process, which every player who switches nationality or changes passport, that happens, players get dual citizenship. And to me, the question here is very, very simple at the end of the day, is how quickly can the Indian government do its homework? Because I mean, I remember days when you used to get your mobile phone in India. You used to come from abroad. You had to pick up a prepaid number. It used to take 7 days to get clearances because you were not an Indian resident. right? So the question is, all of that has fastened up a lot. The question at the end of, again, the question is, how quickly can the Indian bureaucracy in the background do the homework? For example, can someone prove he's an OCI first? My point is always, I tell all the OCI players who approach me, first of all, get an OCI card. Because then that is the biggest hurdle. Then the question is, are we doing some kind of sports dual citizenship to allow athletes to represent us? Are we creating an OCI plus, so to say, which gives you everything so that you're allowed to play, let's say, in football and in other sports? Or are you saying that you have to become an Indian citizen? Because that has a lot of implications. But we're seeing that with players from Indonesia, from Thailand, from Malaysia, even the UK, which is supposedly the most difficult one. Even those players are giving up citizenship to take up the citizenship of Southeast Asian nations. Right? So it is on us, on India, on the government, on the AIFF to be proactive. The AIFF needs to have someone to coordinate with the players, someone who is coordinating all of this work with Manolo, or if someone else is the head coach of the Indian national team. So these are the the small little things that we need to think about, that what is happening, what is not happening, and therefore for me that's a big thing. Aditya says no matter how worse Kalyan Chaubey has performed, if he somehow gets the OCIPA thing, then he'll get his statue in Delhi. See, Aditya, there are a lot of people involved in this in the background. Kalyan Chaubey surely, as a president, is in some sort of form of way involved, yes. But there are other people also involved in the background who you don't even know, right? And there will be bureaucrats in the ministry who will be doing the work. I mean, the minister, Kalyan, all these people, even the prime minister will most probably take credit, but there are people in the background who's going to do the work. Otherwise, something like this cannot happen. It is not easy, but it can be done. So therefore, for me, guys, it is possible. I am just a little careful, if you ask me, at this moment in time, knowing what has been said in the past, what has been tried. We had PIOs who got a spot in the NFL in those days, in 2005. Izumi Arata, I think, the best example of a player who came down and then played in India. But my point is very, very clear, that if I have origin players, that the origin players get the chance to play for us, but do we want them to come to India? That's the other point, right? So therefore, there are a lot of these points herein that are interlinked.
एग्जैक्टली आई थिंक सर सीन ये भी है कि जैसे आपने बोला ना कि केयरफुल होना जरूरी है, बिकॉज ये चीज ऐसा नहीं है कि पास्ट में कोशिश नहीं की गई है, एंड पास्ट में भी कई बार हायर लेवल पे चीजें डिस्कस हुई है, सारी चीजें हुई है, एंड उसके बावजूद भी रियलिटी नहीं बन पाया है. सो इट विल टेक टाइम, एंड आई थिंक फैंस को भी थोड़ा सा आई वुड से कि अपना जो एक्सपेक्टेशन है उसको मतलब बैलेंस बना के चलना चाहिए, बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे अगर मान लीजिए कि नहीं हुआ, देन डिसअपॉइंटमेंट हमको ही मिलेगी एज अ फैन कि भाई ये भी नहीं हम कर पा रहे. सो एंड बाकी कंट्रीज हमारे आसपास अभी और ज्यादा प्रोएक्टिवली करने लगे हैं, तो और ज्यादा अभी जो डिसअपॉइंटमेंट है उसका आप बोल सकते हैं कि लेवल हायर होगा, बिकॉज वी सी इन बांग्लादेश, श्रीलंका एंड एवरीवन. सो आई थिंक OCIPA ऐसी चीज है कि जब तक वो रियलिटी नहीं बनता तब तक यू कैन से कि 100% वो कॉन्फिडेंट भी होना वो थोड़ा सा दिक्कत वाली बात है. हमने अभी तक वो भी बात नहीं की कि भाई आगे जब ये अलाउ करेंगे तब इसका ओपोजिशन भी होगा. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि ये सारी चीजें यहाँ पे स्मूथली सारी चीजें क्लियर हो जाएगी, गवर्नमेंट ये रूल पास कर देगी और कर देगी तो इसका कोई यहाँ पे इसको अपोज नहीं करेगा. ऑब्वियसली देयर विल बी यू कैन से कि some opposition from the maybe local player side, maybe from opposition party, maybe someone individual will put a you can say कि play in Supreme Court. तो ये सारी चीजें होगी, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि भाई आप गवर्नमेंट अलाउ कर देगी और सारी चीजें एकदम स्मूथली कंप्लीट हो जाएगी. सो आई थिंक देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ हर्डल्स, एंड लेट्स सी गवर्नमेंट जैसे आपने बोला कि कितना प्रोएक्टिवली काम करती है इसके ऊपर, दैट विल डिसाइड द फ्यूचर ऑफ OCI प्लेयर्स.
Yes, let me go back to the start of comments, and I'll try to go through them here. Renal had said earlier, AIFF is just a mere image of Indian sports administration. Is AIFF the worst run administration in India, or they're worse than AIFF? Um, phew, Renal, I would say that the AIFF most probably still is one of the better run federations in India. That is, I think that's the problem that we have, and with all its problems, the AIFF financially is the second biggest sports federation in India after the BCCI. People don't forget hockey and all the others, kabaddi and all that non-starters. So from that perspective, yeah, the AIFF. I mean, I would have said, and this is in the past, people didn't believe me. I said, that under Kushal, under Praful, and under Sunanda most probably were one of the best run federations, and people wouldn't believe me at the time. I think now people understand what we used to say. Aditya, I'm commenting on good thing by Raj sir to give the name of Rahul KP, but why I want to know only him should have been someone like Isak, man. But it's fine. Aditya, there was one potential slot in there, not two. And, I think Rahul KP being a more seasoned pro, someone who's been part of the under-17 World Cup squad, someone who's, he can talk, he's sellable. I think that's the point, right? It's this thing is PR, and therefore, they
And
chose Rahul KP over any other player.
And I think maybe in earlier younger days he might play 7-a-side matches in Kerala also.
I think I think I've seen last summer he was playing off season. He was playing 7-a-side, if I'm not wrong. So that's the point. 1 second, let me see. Sam, you're a regular channel member. Swanlata, good to see you collab with Harif in your football session. Need more free conversation like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hiren, for taking your time. Kumar says, after watching Indian football, catastrophic phase situation, very little hopefully situation a few months back. I lost agitation, frustration became empathic, mature with the time. Hiren, I think this has been, I remember we were discussing this 2 years back after SAF championship victory and all, and everyone was buzzing, the golden age of Indian football is here, hum to sab jeet jayenge, we are on the way to the World Cup. This brutal reality check for fans who've not been following Indian football like myself for 27 years. This reality check has been hard, huh?
But I think सर इसमें सीन ये है कि जैसे मतलब 2023 का वो जब टाइम था तब फैंस रन ऑन इमोशंस एंड जैसे विक्ट्रीज हुई तो वो उनका वो लगने लगा कि नहीं भाई अब सब कुछ सही चल रहा है बट दे डोंट नो दी वो कैन से कि मे बी बिहाइंड द सीन व्हाट्स हैपनिंग एंड आई थिंक इसलिए उनका जो पर्सपेक्टिव भी है वो उसी तरह से या फिर उनका जो ओपिनियन है वो भी उसी तरह से था बट धीरे धीरे दे ऑल्सो रियलाइज जो हमने उस टाइम पे डिस्कस किया था फॉर एग्जांपल दैट सितंबर शेड्यूल मिसमैनेजमेंट हमने वो 2023 में सितंबर आने से पहले हमने डिस्कस किया था कई बार कि भाई सितंबर में ये सारी चीजें आपकी मिक्स हो रही है तो हाउ यू गोना मैनेज एंड इवेंचुअली दैट हैपन सो आई थिंक फैंस स्लोली रियलाइज्ड कि भाई क्या चीजें हो रही है एंड आई थिंक इट्स गुड टू सी कि फैंस वांट्स टू यू कैन से कि ओपनली वांट्स टू आई वुड से कि अपने आप को भाई और ज्यादा यू कैन से कि वेल इन्फॉर्म्ड रखना चाहते हैं रादर देन इल इन्फॉर्म्ड और यू कैन से कि जस्ट hearing one opinion. I would say कि I always say to the fans कि भाई आप different sources से अपने information gather कीजिए and then you decide on yourself कि भाई हाँ इसमें से कौन सी चीज it makes sense and आप अपना opinion खुद create करने की कोशिश कीजिए rather than believing in just one thing. So I think it's good to see कि now fans seeing the real picture and it's good to see that.
Very, very right. Any opinion about football being only in general and not in the priority bracket? How does it matter in terms of funds or other administrative aspects? Blue, administrative, it has no effect per se on Indian football. It is more of a financial thing. One has to be honest that the financial support of the government of India over the last 5, 6, 7 years has gone down dramatically. Look at the funding that the government was providing out of the under-17 World Cup substantially. And yeah, I think
I think
See,
नहीं,
Hiren,
नहीं,
one point to add, and then I'll allow
हाँ,
you. The way that this is done is very bureaucratic and very theoretical.
theoretical, हाँ,
Huh? So
hmm,
so you have to understand that football, biggest
hmm,
sport in the world, 211 nations, most difficult to be successful.
hmm,
So if that is not factored in into your priority list, then
hmm.
that list to me is very theoretical and very unrealistic, because then football doesn't have a chance.
I think for example ये जो आपने statement दिया है ना, ये the same you can say कि the point of view or same theory has been applied when they in 2023 Asian Games they decided that only India will send the team with the sport which have a top 10 in Asia. For example, for football you have to be in top 10 is much difficult compared to other sports. So I think that is the same criteria applied here. And another thing is I think जैसे आपने बोला ना कि पिछले कुछ सालों में ड्रामेटिकली जो गवर्नमेंट का you can say कि बजट है to Indian football is goes down, because I think earlier there was a some part of a national team's coach salary also paid by the sport ministry, or I think the
And
SAI
exposure
expo.
trips via SAI, via SAI
Sport.
and via the sports ministry. Under 17 has gone, the women's team has gone on those kind of
Go.
things. Even the senior team is, there was certain money going to it. Yes, and yeah, at some stage, some part of the salary of Eagles team match was being paid by the government of India.
India अब वो बंद हो गया है completely. Now it's totally on AIFF. So yeah, I think the government has made their intention, or maybe जैसे आपने बोला कि bureaucratic thing ये ज़्यादा है rather than a practical, or you can say कि the right approach should be towards the football. And also I
Exactly.
think some way I think AFF also has the role of their performance in the last couple of years as a sport. I don't think so कि it make a strong case to convince गवर्नमेंट की भाई हमको क्यों ज्यादा आई वुड से कि बजट मिलना चाहिए. तो आई थिंक मल्टीपल फैक्टर्स है, एंड दैट्स द नॉट गुड पार्ट फॉर एआईएफएफ और इंडियन फुटबॉल, बिकॉज we are gonna face a more financial problem if FSDL deal not happen, and if government is also is you can say ki not willing or interested to give extra money to football, then I think tough time ahead.
Exactly. Uchit says, wow, good to see Harry back. Bhai, I've been asking an hour about you, to both of your views on Rahul KP's TST tournament. We were just speaking about it. I personally feel, I mean, I know the TST tournament because my friends from the Brown Ballers are taking part with a team of British and American South Asian footballers. We discussed actually even to get someone from India involved in it, but it didn't factor in it as much. So it's a seven-a-side competition, quite high profile, with with a team like West Ham, or like again Dortmund, Atletico, Villarreal, Wrexham, Bournemouth taking part this year. Some celebrity owners having teams in there, some ex-players involved. So it's good exposure for him. And if he does well over there, who knows? Maybe what could happen? Not with West Ham, but maybe something else. Vignesh asked Ryan Williams. Vignesh, I've heard nothing about Ryan Williams. I've been hearing, I mean, it's funny that, I think I was the first one to actually discuss this whole thing, that Ryan Williams is of Indian origin. And I remember a lot of people were surprised because when you hear the name, oh, Ryan Williams doesn't sound Indian. But his brother used to play at Niroka, and but I have not heard anything. And he's been in India for 2 seasons. So if the 5-year rule still applies in India, Ryan Williams would have to play another 3 years in India to be able to be eligible to play, to get an Indian passport to play for India.
what I मेरे पास जो इन्फो है वो वही है कि मेरे को किसी ने मतलब ये बताया है कि मतलब उन्होंने स्क्रीनशॉट भी दिखाया है कि रायन विलियम्स हिमसेल्फ told privately कि he applied for the citizenship. So I also that time you can say कि have a same question कि he is playing for in India for past 2 years, so how can he eligible? No doubt
No,
if you have a connection
Hiren,
in government
you can
also, then
apply.
also
So Hiren, Arata, I remember, also applied after a certain period. Only that it was granted after 5 years. So application dal
5
sakte
years. Acha. So yeah, I think and he is hopeful that he get a you can say early citizenship. So let's wait and watch If it happens, it's good for Indian national team. He is a quality player we've seen in BFC. But yeah, it's you can say same as OC. I think when it become a reality, then only you can you can say believe. Simple as that.
I think all of us would love to see Ryan Williams in an Indian national team jersey, but the reality is that if, as long as the government of India doesn't say, CK, okay, we're going to grant him on priority a passport, nothing is going to happen. So again, we go back to what we're all discussing, all these OCI discussions. We can blame the AIFF for everything, but it is not in this case. For the last 24 years, from the first time we raised it, so therefore, if they don't do it, there's nothing going to happen. But Aditya then says, don't know why are we discussing about this seriously. It's useless. Club football and ISL is the only hope for Indian football for grabbing the attention of the population. The national is just too much. And Aditya, I don't agree with you on this point. I think the success of the national team is going to be the driving force of getting more people interested. I think the ISL has tried its bit, especially in the first 3 seasons. The ISL has not been able to capture the imagination of the people on a whole. That's the, and we have to be honest about that. And club football is successful in certain pockets, but is not as big as we think it could, should, and needs to be. That's at the moment, in my opinion, a reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Indian football's reality is that if national team do well, then and then only people is gonna attract towards the football more, and then they might see a club football. They might associate with their local club or their state club, something like that. So it's reality, and you have to, you can say, keep work according to the reality. You just have that ideal plan or ideal way to do it, but at the end of the day, you act according to the reality rather than, you can say, ideal way. So yeah.
That's one of those challenges. Kalyan is not the guy. I would really want someone really pragmatic. Do you know someone like that, Ronaldo? If yes, please give his name. Angry Birds, I have certain people in mind, but I will not throw their names into the mix. I think not to endanger
Publicly.
the possibility of these people to take up a potential role in the future. Because again, if we discuss names here on my channel, it will be discussed on social media. And I think I've got a few people in mind. Let's see if they're willing to do it down the road. To be very, very honest, OCI. Achut says OCI, even the Honorable Supreme Court will get into play. As far as I recall, the previous order needs to be overturned. Yes, it does, but I think that the government could make certain amendments to make that happen. So that is something I think it is on the government of India to make those changes, because that's the whole thing. And Vignesh Kalyan says it takes 45 days to get OCI approved. Vignesh, I don't know where the 75 thing comes. The 75 is just, it seems to me, a random number. I think it was 90 to 180 days, if I'm not wrong. That was the time. It used to be in the past 6 months. I think now it can be done in 90 days. I don't know where he gets the 75 from. So it can be done. But the question is also, OCI card is a nice thing, but OCI card is not getting you, therefore, yeah.
He mentioned about the 76 days security check. He didn't talk about the OCI is gonna be the you can say the whole process is gonna take 76 days. I think whole process is gonna take more than that.
Where does 76 days come from? No, it's not. It's a random number, in my opinion.
that only Casey can told.
Angry Bird says expectations ना रखो, अगर कुछ भला हो जाए तो उससे एक blessing की तरह लो.
हाँ, सही बोला.
That's very true. AIFF says, I feel Kalyan is putting this out at this time to save his image and job. Hope this is untrue. AIFF, the whole discussion was not started by Kalyan Chauve. It was started by a statement from someone who's supposedly close to the sports ministry. Right? So therefore, so therefore that's the whole point. In India, whatever the national government wants becomes a reality. It's not us that you have to face opposition and court. Okay. Angry Bird says, Supreme Court अगर बिल में stay order मार दिया तो हो गया सब ड्रामा बंद.
बट वो भाई इलीगल या फिर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अगेंस्ट नहीं होगा तो भाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी नहीं डाल सकता ना ऐसे बिल के ऊपर स्टे. सो इफ इट पास थ्रू पार्लियामेंट, आई डोंट सी कि भाई ये एससी वाला चैलेंज या फिर वो सब कुछ फिर उतना ज्यादा वो इसको रोक पाएगा. फिर आई थिंक इट विल बिकम ए रियलिटी, सिंपल एज दैट. बट ये सारे चैलेंजेस आएंगे, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि कुछ ऐसा यहाँ पे आपको सारी चीजें स्मूथली कंप्लीट हो जाएगी. पॉइंट ये है, ये एससी का चैलेंज भी आएगा, क्योंकि आपको पता है इंडिया में हर मैटर भाई कोई भी अच्छी चीज हो या फिर बुरी चीज भी हो, कोई सारी चीजें भाई लोग सुप्रीम कोर्ट में वो करते ही है चैलेंज. सो वो वाली चीज है. सो आई डोंट सी कि उसमें पासिंग में कोई इश्यू होगा. आई थिंक इट विल पास थ्रू दी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑल्सो. बट ये सारी चीजें तो मतलब क्या बोलते कि लोग वहां तक लेके जाएंगे.
Exactly. The opposition party now was the ruling government which abolished OCIs back in 2008, so we know what to expect. Yeah, Pratik, I don't think so. That's the thing. We're in 2025, so I think 2008, one decision which was taken, I can be overturned. Blue says, I can see one scooter parked in Suvarna, but the OCI thing can't deal with that nightmare, so many hurdles. Blue, I think the Supreme Court could get involved, but the point is also for the government of India that certain things will have to change also, especially with the so-called Olympic bid. So that's my point, right? And the gentleman also was supporting actually an OCI a while back, a boy from Belgium, to try and get Indian citizenship and to come and play in India, right? So you never know what these people want or don't want. Do you think the stakeholders opposing the OCIs have much power in this verdict? My question is, who is opposing it?
Oh, exactly.
My
and
question
how much
EF, who is saying that anyone is opposing it? Has anyone publicly said that he's opposing it? Or is that again a social media speculation?
And another thing is the stakeholder, how much influence he has in government.
First of all, that, and secondly is there are people who supposedly against it who are laughing about it because they said, I'm it's not my problem, it's not my issue, I'm not even bothered. So we are so therefore this is what I say. You guys are picking up things that people are saying, so therefore, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's very difficult for me. I know at least from two people have been asking me, but two of the supposed stakeholders, yes, I think players could be against it, but have the players any influence? No. The AIFF is for it. The league and the clubs would be for it because they know if a stronger national team adds value to Indian football. So who's against it? The academies, most probably. So sports ministry ignore the AIFF, then how AIFF manage funding for league and other things? Yashraj, mainly via money from Reliance, from fundings that they get from FIFA and from AFC, and some money that they raise themselves. The government has not been a main source of funding of Indian football in the last few years.
I think last year, I think 2020-23, the government is just given a 5 crore. And then I think the 1 year they are given, I think 15 crore, something like that. So that is the only amount out of, you can say 120-130 crore का जो AIFF का budget है. 50 crore is from FSDL side. जैसे सर ने बोला कि I think FIFA AFC का grant मिलता है उनको. So these are all the ways they are raising you can say 70-80% budget. Government is just 5% of all their, you can say, budget.
That is it. Aditya agrees. Time was different then, as an answer to Pratik. Kalyan is just doing this to save his image, nothing else. Yeah, but where, if you try and save your image, then you have to do something, right? Just by saying it, I think he's making it worse. If that's the logic, then he's making it worse.
Worse. If it doesn't become a reality, then he has no way to save his face.
And he has nowhere to hide. He has nowhere to hide, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Uchit says, I checked the TST website. The event is in North Carolina. Yes, and it's kind of a festival with live music, food, and matches. Yes, I mean, it's a seven-a-side competition which has all of the things involved in it. And it's a nice thing as well. And To me, it's an interesting format. I saw that last year. I remember Busset Open and Bayern Munich played in it with their legends. So therefore, yeah, let's wait and see. I mean, for him, it's great exposure. It's good exposure. If he learns something, that's it. Is Kuljan fooling us? No. I mean, those who want to be fooled, yes. But I would say the general public, no. We fans think about football every day and can't wait for India's next match in June. Hiren, same with you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think at the moment, no matches, no club matches, only India camp, and everything is done. So therefore, yeah. Abhijit says, Spear Lollipop is losing its sweetness. Okay, live shade for both of you.
ये पिछले कुछ सालों से मैं नोटिस कर रहा हूँ कि ये एक ऐसा टाइम आता है कि जिसमें ये पीआई लॉलीपॉप ओसे वाली चीज निकलती है, उसके नेक्स्ट 10-15 डेज में इतना डिस्कशन होता है कि लगता है कि भाई कल ही ये अलाउ हो जाएगा. फिर अगेन दिस
disappears for 3 to 6 months and then it comes back again.
Exactly. ये साइकिल चलता ही आ रहा है. This is a vicious cycle, just like Indian football.
Blue says like they're funding more in archery than football. Like how much expenses archery has than football is absolutely BS. No reasoning done. Blue again. This is theoretical, say of what am I doing in regard to funding sporting federations. So therefore, it makes no sense. No sense.
और
बोलो हिरन.
आर्चरी में आई थिंक जो क्या बोलते हैं कि दो तरह की आर्चरी होती है, तो दूसरी तरह की जो आर्चरी है, मैं नाम अभी भूल रहा हूँ, उसको भी अब आई थिंक ओलंपिक में आगे एक इवेंट के लिए इंक्लूड किया जा रहा है. इन दैट आर्चरी India have some really good archers, so that's why I think that's on the priority. Because देखिए, जैसे सर ने बोला ना कि ब्यूरोक्रेसी क्या देखेगी कि कितना बड़ा स्पोर्ट है, कितना डिफिकल्ट है, वो नहीं देखेगी. इंडिया के पास अभी कैसे प्लेयर्स है एंड क्या इंडिया को मेडल दिला सकते हैं, उनका पहला थॉट प्रोसेस वो होगा, रादर देन यू कैन से कि हाउ मच बिगर द स्पोर्ट, हाउ मच डिफिकल्ट द स्पोर्ट, हाउ मच इम्पैक्ट दैट स्पोर्ट कैन मेक इफ इंडिया डू वेल. सो उस पॉइंट सोचने से पहले उनका प्रायोरिटी होगा कि भाई कौन सा स्पोर्ट हमें ओलंपिक में मेडल दिला सकता है, उसके ऊपर हम प्रायोरिटी करेंगे. So वो चीज उनकी सबसे पहले वो you can say कि क्राइटेरिया में होती है.
Exactly. Simon says, wow, Navo and Hirenji crossover. Good to see you guys back. Thanks, Simon. Says some OCI willing to represent India and any big OCI players ready to come to a national team. Brahma, there are. I mean,
openly उन्होंने वो बोल दिया है.
Jan Danda has said it openly. Danny Bath says before his retirement, he's open to playing for us. Shant Hundal has given me an interview a while back where he said that, so therefore, yeah, a lot of players have done that. Do in other parts of the world bureaucrats are better in these things, or they use other than bureaucrats in these things? No, it's the bureaucracy, Blue. It's the bureaucracy, but the bureaucracy, there is a link between the sports ministry and the bureaucracy to try and build things in a proper way, right? And they help sports. So that, I think, is the difference. That let's say Indonesia is handing out passports within 30 days.
Right? Days, yeah.
So they're doing all their background checks, everything, whatever is needed, and within 30 days, passport mil gaya. So that is happening. How long is Luka Match in India to apply for Indian passport? Roshan, Luka is a foreigner, and Luka has no Indian heritage, so I don't think Luka Machin would get an Indian passport. We've had the case of Chima Okeri few years back. Ansumana Kroma married also to both Chima and Ansumana Kroma married to Indian women. Those are two perfect examples. We discussed many years back to give Jose Ramirez Barreto Indian citizenship. So all of these things have never happened. So therefore, a foreigner getting an Indian passport is
very difficult,
impossible.
And there are some examples, sir, कि जिन्होंने सारे criteria fulfill भी किए हैं, still government didn't give them as citizenship. So yeah, it's not guaranteed कि आप criteria fulfill करो तो आपको मिल ही जाएगा.
Yeah. Why Ryan wants to play for India? There are multiple other national teams that are available. Avijit, it's a question for Ryan Williams to answer. Do you think that he's capable of playing for Scotland or
Australian
for
national.
England or for Australia?
Or
Yeah. So the answer is very simple. For him, at his age, he's playing in India. I think one should just take it and hope that he, yeah, that he gets the passport at some stage and can play for us. I would again, and that's Ryan Williams. Again, that's the easy one, I think, who's already playing in India. And if Ryan Williams, we can get him to play for us, that's a win for us. Right? It's a win for us as Indian football because Ryan Williams gives us something which we don't have in the national team at this moment in time. Sandesh Jingan and Subhashish Bose say they hope the team will play like a team and other players will take responsibility to give out a result. Hong Kong coach Westwood says he's ready for India again. What are they supposed to say?
Exactly, that's my same
What do you
question.
say? Oh, our team is rubbish.
There are some problem in dressing room. We can't. तो वो तो नहीं बोलेंगे ना वो openly, obviously.
No. So therefore, for me, what are you going to say? And Ashley's going to say what he has to say, right? So yeah. What's your view on Oda Dagba winning Scottish Cup? Oda is literally playing in a top league as a local lad developed in Palestine. This is an amazing story. Daniel, there are tons of these stories of players who've come from, from here, from there, so yeah, it's part of the story of football, right? Abhijit says prediction for Thailand game. My prediction is a glorious 0-2 loss. Abhijit, a little too early. Let's discuss it later next week. One young woman cricketer from Bengal was issued passport in a day since she was to fly for India's tour to England. Uchu, that has also happened in football. I remember when India was playing in the Caribbean or went on a tour in the Caribbean and played there against Guyana and Trinidad. In Goa, Armando and I think 3 other players got a passport in Goa within a day. And Nobi and Mehtab Hussain got a passport, I think, within 3 days in Kolkata. But they're all Indian citizens, right? So this is issuing of a new passport, or So therefore, that is a little easier to do. Which foreigner has been consistently been in India playing in ISL for 3-4 years and maybe 5 years? I would have said earlier, Edu Badia was playing more than 5 years in India, but those guys are not going to get Indian citizenship. Yeah. Roshan, interesting point. I guess the distrust for some people in this OPIO topic is also connected with the lack of trust in the system itself to develop the domestic circuit.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point, no? Because people on one side say, PIO ajayega, short-term fix, this, that, it will harm the football system, and grassroots will suffer, youth football will suffer, club football will suffer.
Which is already suffering at the moment.
Exactly, that's one. And also, if the national team is more successful, that means more eyeballs and potentially more money coming into Indian football. See, Bangladesh is an example. Bangladesh didn't have a national team sponsor for 5 years. Hamza comes in. Hamza doesn't even play. Hamza just comes in. 1, 2, 3.
No, sir. Yesterday, the ticket selling website goes get the cyber attack. Can you imagine Singapore versus Bangladesh match in a cricket loving country to happen with the football match is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. XYZ says he didn't talk to Anawa how the new Pakistan Football Federation president is more transparent than AIFF. They are live streaming the elections. Pakistan football will grow. XYZ, do you know that what is happening in the background in regard to the election, which is not clean? So therefore, AIFF, as bad as it is, don't compare it to the PFF. The PFF is much worse than the AIFF.
And see, one step doesn't, you can say कि decide कि आप कितना अच्छा करेंगे. You have to, you can say कि take a right steps. एक step से कुछ नहीं होगा. But those kind of thing maybe AIFF can learn from them कि भाई आप देखिए for example जैसे भाईचुंग भूटिया जो बोल रहे हैं regarding the live streaming, maybe इट्स राइट रॉन्ग, बट आई थिंक एटलीस्ट अभी जो आपके एएफएफ का सबसे बड़ा इश्यू क्या है कि आपकी कोई अकाउंटेबिलिटी या फिर ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं है. फॉर एग्जांपल ईगो स्टीवेंस का जो इश्यू हुआ था यहाँ पे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्सटेंशन का, कि भाई उसमें रिलीज क्लोज आपने नहीं डाला था या फिर व्हाटएवर जो एग्जिट क्लोज नहीं डाला था. अब आप देखिए कि उस टाइम पे कल्याण चौबे से बोला तो उन्होंने बोला कि भाई किसी और ने वो किया है, किसी और से बोला गया तो उन्होंने बोला इन्होंने बोला है. तो जब एक्सको की मीटिंग या फिर आपकी जनरल मीटिंग होती है तो भाई आपके जो स्टेक होल्डर्स है वो जो भी डिस्कशन करते हैं, एटलीस्ट वी गेट आइडिया कि भाई जो फुटबॉल को डिसीजन बना रहे हैं, हमारा फुटबॉल को आगे का फ्यूचर डिसाइड कर रहे हैं, उन लोगों का नॉलेज कितना है, क्या चीजें वो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, कौन कौन सी चीजें वो यहाँ पे इंप्लीमेंट करना चाहते हैं. अदरवाइज भाई आप देखिए कि अभी तो हर कोई एक दूसरे को बोल रहा है कि आप ये कर दो, ये मैंने नहीं किया, इसकी वजह से हो रहा है. अभी कल्याण चौबे का भी आप रिसेंटली इंटरव्यू देखे, उन्होंने बोला कि भाई मेरे अगेंस्ट सारे यहाँ पे एलिगेशन रॉन्ग प्रूव हुए. आई डोंट नो वेयर कहाँ पे रॉन्ग प्रूव हो गए भाई. सो देयर आर सो मेनी थिंग्स की जो अनआंसर चली जाती है. सो आई थिंक थोड़ा सा ट्रांसपेरेंट होना चाहिए एंड थोड़ा सा क्या भी ज्यादा ही होना चाहिए.
Hiren, there are 2-3 things that I think there are things that you can make transparent, and there are things that you can make to seem transparent. And this PFF example of saying, you know, and that PFF, the people are still the same who are involved.
Same, yeah,
and
yeah.
You can show this pseudo transparency. I call it pseudo transparency. To me, also, there are certain meetings which I think is better behind closed doors, which is not publicly, because then you can have a honest conversation. Because then, if I want to criticize, you know, if I'm an EXCO member and I want to criticize the AIFF, I will not do it when there is a live stream going on. Exactly. I know a lot of people who will never do that. So therefore, you have to pick and choose the transparency that a fan wants. And sorry to say, do you guys actually understand all of these things that are happening? Why and why not? For example, Kalyan Chaube, he says allegations against me have been proven wrong. First of all, the allegations haven't been proven, and they've not been proven wrong either.
Wrong either, yeah, exactly.
There are in Indian football, for example, there are people in certain bodies, that people have not been able to prove the allegations.
There are some.
I say, Hiren, prove if someone has done wrong, prove it, and then go to the right authorities to do a case against these people.
There are a trend in AIFF ना कि whoever lives, then they make allegation कि ये गलत हुआ है. If you have a proof, show it to the people.
Exactly. That is my thing, that these guys always make allegations against each other and they can't prove anything, right? When will be the amendment? No idea. I think nobody knows. No idea. Or not even the Supreme Court knows that. He said 70 days background checks. Yeah, but 75 days to me, again, very, very random. Are they going to argue to FIFA that OCI is a legit document and alternative actual citizenship? Rushabh, no. That could have been possible in 2006 because, because my PIO card at the time had gone to FIFA. But things have changed since then because now FIFA says you have to have citizenship of a country to represent them. So therefore, that is the change. So, and FIFA will not make a change for only India.
India's only.
Yeah. So they will, because then it gets very, very complicated with FIFA with, he is of origin, because you have, with the world moving closer together, you have a lot of potential players who have 3-4 potential nationalities, like the Sullivan brothers now, who some of them were going to play for Bangladesh now, right? Where the most talented one, the US wants him to play. He's going to go to Man City. German origin, so Germany wants the player as well. So therefore, very, very crazy stuff going on. Hannibal says, just saw a tweet from Indian ballers about a guy named Will Andiyappan playing for Tottenham Hotspur's reserve team. Hannibal, we've got quite a few of these players who have been in the academies of some of the top teams of Man U, of Tottenham, of Chelsea, of Liverpool.
And son, number is gonna increase in next couple of years because every year Indian, there are so many Indians who are giving a citizenship, and their second generation is definitely gonna out of, because of the football culture in those country, someone will is gonna, you can say, make into those clubs academy. So numbers of these origin players is gonna be more and more in upcoming years.
However, why do you think football was not put in high priorities or priorities categories? Because football has no chance in Asian Games, or sports ministry has different plans regarding football? Sports ministry has no plans. We discussed it a little earlier. These are theoretical decisions of I have this kind of data, I've got that kind of data, and then I can be top 8 or I can win medals, and that you do it by that. You cannot do this with sports. I have to be very specific. It's what I need to do the homework. I need to look at each national sports federation. I need to look at the sport, and I look to look even in under categories of a sport which is participating in the Olympics. And especially a sport like football should not be put into any of these categories, because football to me is the biggest sport in the world, and our priorities with football should be different. Kiran?
True, absolutely true. I think India, that is the, I think, biggest, you can say, key disappointing part, is India didn't understand, or Indian government didn't understand the importance of football as a soft power in the world. I recently given an example. For example, what happened in the Pahalgam. If India has as a better, you can say, key footballing team, and some of their players may be playing in big leagues and something like that, you can showcase your, you can say, key sympathy or protest through football to, you can say, key world. We have seen with Ukraine war, there are European leagues showing stand with Ukraine and something like that. So you have that power. We have seen so many example like that in past. So I think India didn't able to understand the power of football, because of it is the only sport which is global. So yeah.
Angry Bird says, and I think it's a little bit sarcastic, AF को एक terrorist organization declare कर देना चाहिए by United Nations. Yeah. See, the problem is with the AIFF, guys. I know the AIFF is not in the best of shape. The AIFF is not doing the best of job, but still on that front, it is it is where it is, right? Honorable, do you think Manolo will leave the Indian football team in the midst of Asian Cup qualifiers? Good question, Kumar. Hiren, first you, and then I'll say, what do you think? Manolo to stay after Asian Cup, after June, or do you think he's going to leave?
I think, as we discussed earlier, I think he is in a situation where he is also waiting about the ISL future, and he has that, you can say, maybe decision after the what happened in this game against Hong Kong particularly. So I think, I would say at the moment I think he is gonna leave, but yeah, things might change if AFF, यू कैन से कि उनके साथ डिस्कस करके मे बी यू कैन से कि उनको कन्विंस कर पाए कि आगे चीज़ें बेटर होगी, ये सारी चीज़ें होगी, एंड इफ ही कन्विंस्ड देन आई थिंक वो अपना डिसीजन चेंज करे. अदरवाइज एट द मोमेंट तो आई थिंक, as you can see, FC Goa is also not going for a new coach, so that clearly indicates that they are also waiting for Manolo Marquez these 2 matches in June.
I think that's the point. Manolo is playing a wait and watch game, and if the option arises for him to go back to FC Goa, stay in the ISL, I think that's most probably his preference. But maybe this extended camp changes something with him, with the national team. That could also be happening if he is able to convince the players. Yeah, that's gonna be very, very interesting. Many YouTubers like Mihar and others say academies, ISL clubs who say see our player play national team academy, same FSL say see player from our league, ISL play national team. Also, owners won't want that. XYZ, my simple question on this to Mihar or whoever is saying this: have they spoken to anyone about this? Has anyone told them this? That For example, FSDL is against it. FSDL, Reliance are the club owners against it. Does he know that? Factually, actually, any one of these guys know that? Academies, yeah, they think that their market will go down, right? But the reality is, our players are so overpaid that if they're out of the national team,
it will balance out at the end of the day.
It could actually help us, right? So I don't think that the club owners and the FSDL care about it, because if the national team is this is something which I don't understand. It's very, very simple. If the Indian national football team is more successful, it helps the whole ecosystem, right? I go back to 2023. Everyone was hyping after the AIFF Cup. Everyone thought, we are now something, right? So therefore, for me, is again, everyone is entitled to his or her opinions. But are they actually talking facts? Do they know? Or they are just speculating? And you are then selling this as, listen, these guys have said this. They're speculating. They cannot know. It is not a problem of FSDL, because FSDL most probably will not be there in the summer. But hey, FSDL has a problem with OCIs playing. No, they don't. Anyone who says that doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. So guys, I always say that be careful with your sources. There are a lot of people saying this. I've seen people who are claiming I've been pushing the agenda of OCIs. No, none of you have. Right? Because why can I say that? Because this is the gentleman who started the conversation with the AIFF in 2001. My PIO card went to FIFA in 2006. So if anyone else claims that he or she or whatever has done this and that, they've not done jack shit. Sorry to say that. Sorry, Hiren, I've got to be very straightforward on this one, because people are claiming a lot of things, no? And you guys believe all of that rubbish.
That's true.
Augusta says, good to see Harry back on the channel. Good to see that. Now, please track the Tottenham product. The Apple is center. Yeah, I've been following for the last 3 years. So thanks. The problem is the will of the government to hand the passports to footballers of Indian audience. They're not sure whether this will work for the national team or not. I mean, come on, we bottle every time. But Devu, so because we bottle it every time, you're not going to try and do things? That's the logic now, that we will not try this.
And ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या हो जाएगा? अभी जो हमारी हालत खराब है, ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या हो जाएगा अगर वो वर्क भी नहीं किए? तो we will reach at this level जहाँ पे हम already है. So
exactly. So the problem here is, at the end of the day, we have to realize whatever is happening or not happening, things will have to move. Your views on the under 23 men's national team, in my opinion, not bad. Uchit, I agree. I think Naushad Musa is a good pick. First of all, balanced squad. Hiren?
Yeah, I think most of the player who played in IS and the criteria is set out is you can say is right, and there will be always by some players जो fans को पसंद है या फिर उनको लगता है कि more deserving थे, they will be, you can say कि not picked in this squad. वो होगा ही होगा, because at the end of the day you have to pick 23, 25, 28 players, so कोई ना कोई तो भी left out होगा. But it's important कि how these players show the potential and what coach pick the player, are they able to do it at that level? That is more important thing. And as you said, the Nosad Musa has the experience in working with these reserve players, with Bengaluru, with Northeast, and he passed also managed the under 23 team. So I think it's good pick over the some recently, you can say ki last year what AIFF you can say ki pick the coaches, उससे तो better appointment इस साल दिख रही है in both team, men's and women's team.
That's one. And interestingly, also something which wasn't discussed, Khalid Jamil seems to have then turned down the under 23 role. Hiren.
रोड या आई थिंक सर जब वो अनाउंस पे जब वो न्यूज पे आई थी कि भाई एफएफ अप्रोच टीम फॉर द अंडर 23 उस टाइम पे भी शायद हमने डिस्कस किया था या फिर आपने भी बोला होगा कि आई थिंक ही इज एमिंग नाउ फॉर द मे बी नेशनल टीम senior national team role. So yeah.
Let's see. Bacham Bhutia says, with the recent expansion of Women's World Cup, AIFF should put aggressive focus on women's football. XYZ, yeah, that's nice to say from Bhai, but the AIFF theoretically has been doing that for years. But actually, despite putting focus on women's football, our women's football has actually gotten worse in the last few years. I think that is my concern. If we talk about women's football, yeah.
Another thing is, हमारी team decline हुई है, and the women's football is rapidly becoming a competitive. I think one thing we are not able to realize is in Asia also the countries like Qatar, Saudi, who are not even interested in the women's team in past couple of years, they have focused on them and their team is gradually increasing. And if you see the European women's team now, earlier it was USA who are dominating the, you can say, women football more, but now European countries and their club teams, if you see last night I see Barca versus Arsenal final, if you see the level of football they are playing, and if you compare with the Indian team, just for the, you can say, get idea ki where women's football at top level are playing, then you realize that I would say maybe 10 year ago it was way, you can say ki competition was way below than what now today. So I think that also we need to remind कि भाई हम तो नीचे जा ही रहे हैं, but आगे भाई बाकी countries भाई they are rapidly becoming a, you can say, more and more competitive.
Your opinion on Christian Pulisic not wanting to play for the US men's national team? It's on every individual player. Anibal, in any country, if a player doesn't want to play for a national team, you can't force him to play.
And I think in those countries this kind of thing is normal. They don't make this bigger of a hush or a issue. In India, if some player say publicly that kind of thing, he will be a destroy. Simple as that.
That happened now with Apuya, no? When he went for his exam.
So in those countries, those are the normal things.
On our mostly like Manano, likely Manano leaving, do you think next coach will be from ISL or a band-aid coach will be brought for temporary? I think it depends on what the AIFF situation is. If Manano leaves now, is there money there to spend? Is there no money to spend? If there is money to spend, then we can think about a proper coach. If we don't have money to spend, that to, as he said, Khalil Bhai ka option hai.
I think budget will be I think Manolo Marquez ka bhi selection में भाई sir the salary or the budget was the criteria, because they decided because 1 year आपको salary नहीं देना था, just for those, you can say, national team camp days आपको उनको वो भी जो भी compensation जो भी देना था वो देना था. Otherwise FC Goa is paying his salary for 1 year. So why AIFF choose that time? Because they already splashed 4 crore due to their you can say blunder in the contract. They wasted on the ego match. So they have to recover from somewhere. So they choose कि भाई ये better plan है कि भाई चलो 1 साल के लिए जो भी उसकी 2-3 करोड़ की सैलरी है वो हम सेव कर लेंगे, and then from next year we will give him a, you can say, full time role. So something like that can again happen with the AIFF financial crunches are gonna be bigger if FSDL deal is not gonna happen, or happen with the only, you can say, without you can say money. So I think those kind of things is gonna decide the next coach.
Is this sudden surge in talks about the PROCR thing real or just typical Kalyan Chaube PR stunts? If it's the latter, he isn't going to fool us again and get away with it. Simon, I don't think he has started it. I think it was started by a so-called spokesperson or unofficial spokesperson of the sports ministry. And the question was, can it work or not? And then Kalyan jumped onto the bandwagon as he's done multiple times. So, yeah. Is any confirmation happened about the court situation? Any clarity about Mono's future? Or the report from Marcus is last. There is no formal update, and there's been no one in the Kolkata media has even reported who've been going to the training sessions. No one has talked about it in any way so far. Do you think Westwood will eventually get tired of India? Abhijit, there are two sides to it. As a national team coach, Ashley Westwood will try and win against any
Hmm.
team. But Ashley Westwood has worked at BFC and has worked at Ramglas Punjab. And I know from Ashley personally that he's very fond of India,
Hmm.
right? And who knows? Maybe Ashley will one day will will become India coach. Who knows? Hiren?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely a possibility, and obviously he has that, as you mentioned, work in BFC, work in round class, so he has the experience of working in India as a as in club ecosystem. He also now managed the national team of Afghanistan and Hong Kong, and he managed the Afghanistan team with such a difficult scenario where he didn't have the proper player. So I think those kind of coaches is more, I would say, more better for India, particularly the way AIFF works. So they can, you can say better adjust, because some coaches जो डिस्कशन में हम करते हैं वो भाई सर्टेन रिक्वायरमेंट भी रखते हैं टू प्रोड्यूस अ रिजल्ट, एंड इफ दोस रिक्वायरमेंट आर, यू कैन से कि फुलफिल नहीं होती, देन वी सीन कि भाई वो यहाँ पे लीव करने का भी सोचते हैं. बट अगर किसी कोच ने उस तरह के एनवायरनमेंट में काम किया है, देन आई थिंक ही इज मोर सुटेबल और मोर बेटर टू एडजस्ट इन दिस काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन की, जहाँ पे पूरा इकोसिस्टम आपको जो भाई चाहिए वो शायद ना भी मिले, डिस्पाइट यू हैव टू प्रोड्यूस रिजल्ट.
Very, very right. Hiren, you said I think you need to leave.
या या
Thank you very much, Bhai, for joining in. I'll surely join you um, in the coming week on your channel again also. And thanks for joining in. I'll continue a little more, try to answer your questions.
ओके ओके.
If you don't follow, do follow Curious Harry, follow Arun Foot, like this discussion. We'll try and do this more often, Hiren and I. I know a lot of people have been asking about this, so thanks, Hiren, for joining in. And that he came over and joined the discussion today. And yeah, so therefore, let me go through some of more of your observations and points. As in the government made the OCI card very powerful now on grounds with Indian passport. No, it isn't. XYZ, it's the same situation that it's except voting and holding agricultural land, you've got all the other rights, and that is that's something that has happened, and therefore therefore it's the same as it was earlier. I would say maybe the best federation in South Asia is BFF. Abhijit, very difficult to say which is the best federation. If we look at especially the women's game, then I would say yes, it is the best one. Men's, they seem to be. Let's see where we go. Agreed on the Safa thing. Spurs fans are positive on South Korea because of Son. X, I think most people around the world have a good opinion. So therefore, that's the thing. If Indian football deteriorate even further in future, will you guys be open to try your hands in daily vlogging? No, I don't think so. If the coach mind is about leaving, what training are we doing for Hong Kong? Ashley Westwood's thinking how we can beat India. Meanwhile, India coach is wondering about leaving. XYZ, Manolo is a pro. And to me, he's such a kind of a pro as a coach who will, as long as he's there, he will give his best with the Indian national team. And therefore I wouldn't question Manolo. And therefore for me, the question does not arise. That's for Indian football fans, including you guys, will be more entertained in the Thailand match. Let's see. Arsenal won Champions League. Yeah, they won the Women's Champions League yesterday, which seems to be to the liking of Salmon. What did Kalyan Chowbe do this week? What was his work? Honestly, I don't know what Kalyan Chowbe does on a daily basis. I've been saying this for a long time now. Women can play Senior World Cup earlier than the men's with a little bit more focus. We've done a little bit of more focus, but the others have done a lot more focus in the last few years. And yeah, let's wait and see. AIFF election, Vignesh, No idea if and when the elections are happening. I've not heard anything about any election within the AIFF. It depends on the Supreme Court. We have been losing women's SAF tournaments to Bangladesh. Pick any age group. We're doing bad, honestly. Yeah, I wouldn't say. Yeah, the women's thing is a worry. Bangladesh has clearly uh, moved past us, and therefore, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what we can do. Ego Steamer said in an interview that money was going to be invested in Indian grassroots football. Did that actually happen? Nope, it hasn't. Agree with Harry. I recall seeing a number of matches of the last Women's Euro, much improved, but some teams in the last World Cup makes me hopeful about our chances, of course, if we improve a little more. Which a little more will not do. Especially, some in the Middle East are improving quite quickly, quite fast. Our chance was 2023 to get to the World Cup, and then, things would have changed. And the other side of the story is players of Indian origin. I think that we need to discuss also in the women's game, players of origin. That could be, for us, I guess, a deciding factor of how to change things and how to improve things. And that's the challenge of where things are at this moment in time. And it is. We'll have to see what happens in the end. In my opinion, we should bring back Constantine for men's national team and U23. I wouldn't mind Stephen coming back. To be very honest, because Stephen has, in his stints, always proven that he can work a team. Sometimes take harsh decisions, tough decisions. But his problem at the moment is, would he be willing to come back? Given the situation within the AIFF, I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I don't think he wants to come back, if you ask me. Opinions on the SAF announcements. Acts, to me, I wrote on Twitter, I'll quote myself on Twitter. And what did I say? It sounds great and makes great reading, but the implementation will be, as always, the challenge. Yeah, so that's my take on the SAF Exco meeting announcements. The club tournament for men's, I don't know if it's going to happen. Women's will only happen if the AIFF keeps a window in the IWL. So all these things are so important that it is, so therefore for me, yeah, it's a very, very tricky one. I think they want to do stuff. They're saying that. I believe them. But India, AIFF is the biggest and most important body. And if the AIFF isn't game for certain things, and there we also have a fight amongst current and former officials, difficult in my opinion. Ocho says women's PIOs, almost the entire US women's United cricket team is of Indian origin. I think we could put a college team together of Indian female footballers, and that would create havoc. So therefore, those are things that are there, and that could change things in some sort of form or way. But again, we talk mainly about the men's national team, but I think the women's national team, I remember former German under-20 World Cup winner Manju Wilde, for example, playing at Sporting Braga at the moment. Those kind of level of players. There are quite a few girls in the English system as well. The Americans not to forget. So therefore, yes, we could. I was talking about this when Permi Jyoti used to play at Fulham, and others. So therefore, it's a topic which has not died out. Nearly 1 hour and 15 minutes. Quick reminder: if you like the conversation that you're hearing, that you're seeing, do leave a like behind, share it with others. Once again, thank you for Hiren to join the conversations. 25 likes today. Thank you very, very much for that. And share it with others to join in, and let's keep on growing the community, 2,573 subscriptions here on the channel. Thank you for that. Do watch the short videos. Saw, of course, that today there's a video on what I think, Rahul Kipi's participation in the TST 7 versus 7 competition. makes. Also mentioning, of course, that the brown bowlers are going to take part, and he still got a lot of views in regard to OCI players could help growth of Indian football. I think that's a topic which has not gotten enough credit, in my opinion. Day before did something. Why is India not producing players of the level of a Baichung Bhutia and Vijay or Sunil Chhetri? So therefore, yeah, that's a question. And some coaches were really unhappy about it and wrote to me about it. Yeah, but that's also a question. Also seen some Indian origin basketball players exceptionally by Indian standards. Uchit basketball, I think if the federation did the right things, took the right steps, they could do something. So do you think that even if the talk of the PIO thing is progressing a bit, it will take a minimum 1-2 years, even more time for it to be implemented, considering the government's priority order? I don't know what their priorities are, Simon. Therefore, I cannot judge it. If they are serious about it, they could do it in 6 months, I guess. But are they really putting it on a priority basis? I don't see that, right? So therefore, for me, that's going to be the question, and it will be very interesting to see how we potentially could do it. So Andre Lakshmikant is very good OCI player playing Portugal top tier league. Yes, Brahma, I know, has made his breakthrough this season in Portugal. Someone to keep an eye on and maybe hopefully playing for us. This talk isn't going to last long. I feel could be a tactic to keep us engaged in this long off season. Simon, it's like transfer talk, right? If you see the transfer market, we've not even discussed any transfer related issue today in this live. Just shows to me that we really have moved away from that. So therefore, I'm very, very interested to see what happens with the future of Indian club football, and then we can talk. When can we have handball league in India? Seven Raj, there was a handball league which was held 2 years ago, and we'll have to see. Maybe 2026 we'll have a proper league next year. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Right, I'll slowly come to the end for the day. 1 hour 70 plus minutes. Once more, a reminder: like, share, and subscribe. Arunfoot here on, here on YouTube. Visit my other social media. Visit arunfoot.com. And Brahma, yes, I have. I mean, I've been one of the people who've been pushing this agenda with AIFF and with government over the years. So yes, I do. And again, there is no real movement. So let's wait and see. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow with another live. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'm Arun Foot here, and this is Arun Foot signing off. Bye for now.